So so it's simply art that's operating in another way. It's like a painting that's driven by color and tone and texture and line, as opposed to a person or an image of a person.
Right.
So it's more surreal and more conceptual than it is representational.
Which is such a great it's such a great palette for the designers to work off.
Yeah.
Because they're not
Terrible freedom.
Yeah, totally. And they aren't constrained by that psychological necessity to tie it to real things.
Yeah.
Or real
Create like a unit set.
Yeah.
Right. So it becomes you know, it's one of the reasons Autopia got where it was. There was there was limit in that you described something, but there was also no limit in that you only gave you only
it's
spelled out, here are these parameters.
It's just like a good Dungeons and Dragons campaign.
Yeah, exactly.
You lay out good parameters, and everybody goes and has an adventure.
Right.
Yeah.
Fills it all in.
Yep.
Fills everything in.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of interesting because we've been thinking about the show is epic. It is grand in scale. In a way that Autopia wasn't.
Survivable in runtime, though.
So completely. But it is. It reflects the magnitude of the problem.
Yeah.
In a way that's really nice, and yet we're doing it in a very small space, which is really going to be kind of cool to kind of.
Yeah, and there's some opportunities there to push it to its sort of claustrophobic extreme. Years ago I got to do a piece for a tiny theater in New York, which is a 10-minute play done in a 6x6x6 cube. And so I just went crazy, and the actor, while they're giving this series of monologues, is building progressively smaller cubes around herself with a 5x5 and a 4 and a 3 and a 2 until at the end of the show she's just got a 1x1 PVC cube around her head, which she's stuck inside of because they just shrink that space down.
So cool.
I was very happy about that.
That's great.
You should be able to take that small space and just build, because you've got a mountain, you've got a beach, you've got garbage everywhere.
Garbage Island.
Yeah, it could look like anything. What does Garbage Island look like?
Yeah, I don't know. Where are people going to sit? On Garbage Island.
In Garbage Island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Great.
What else? We didn't talk about some of the other characters. There's the Goonie.
Well, yeah.
There's Easter Islander.
Goonie. I do feel like
There's Alice.
The Goonie though and
Ralph
Easter.
Wiley.
The Goonie and Easter, I think, are just. Like both of the characters, or like the other characters that double. They're just like the opposite sides of the same coin.
Yeah, which goes back to what we were saying before about how it's driven by theme.
Yeah.
Because they both hold opposite sides of this same sort of concept, this same sort of piece of the human condition. So they double up to give that natural through line.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it wouldn't have been unreasonable to go to 6 characters instead of 4, but.
Yeah, no, but they almost are. It's the same. The sincerity that's there in both the Goonie and Easter, and the simplicity of thought, and like the single-mindedness.
Yeah.
That's what is so interesting about both of those characters, especially Easter. I really like the Goonie, but Easter's such an interesting character.
Yeah. Well, he gets to talk.
Yes, right. Instead of
just shouting madness.
Yes.
Ray's got her work cut out for her, that's for sure, as the Goonie.
She sure does.
Yep.
The Goonie. Gosh, what a...
It's for the right actor, that's a dream role.
You know what's really funny?
For the other
85%. During
callbacks,
we asked everybody, we gave everybody an opportunity to tell us what character they really, really wanted to read for. Because what we were envisioning them for maybe was not what they wanted to, and if it was feasible, we wanted to give them the opportunity
By
to
far
read.
And away.
Everybody wanted to be the Goonie. Everybody wanted to be the Goonie. And I was like, God, that's funny, because as an actor, I would run screaming from that part. I'd be like, no, thank you.
Next part of the 15%.
I do not. Yes, I am. I do not. I'm too intimidated by that one.
Yeah.
Everybody loved it.
Was it fun to take a medieval morality play, as you've described it, and then to just bash on religion with Easter in the second
Oh, yeah.
half.
Yeah.
just pound on it over and over again by Oppenheimer and Wiley, who just do nothing to abuse that character.
Oh, yeah. And of course, it's set in a world where there are sort of supernatural beings. I mean, there's a freaking full-on angel.
Full-on angel that shows up and they all duck and cover.
Yeah.
The kicking shall commence.
and so it's, you know, it's a world where while Easter is sort of this sort of sad, hopeless clown because of his religion, it's still a world where there are sort of grand religious spiritual forces that are very real, painfully real, if you will. And so that was really profound when I started saying it, but I lost my thought. But it was it's a world where that's a real thing, and so this guy coming in to sort of show us how this path can feel like it works, but doesn't necessarily.
Right.
And it goes back to that, you know, line from McNamara, you know, rationality will not save us, because of course in the Goonies, or in Easter's train of thought, he's being very logical. You know, while all his family were building canoes to paddle away, which is just crazy talk.
Right. I carved.
Yeah. He goes back and does the thing because that's, you know, because they're desperate and that's their last hope.
Right. Well, and it's the tunnel vision of the like religious zealot, you know.
Yeah. Or
you can't see past what their religion, you know, says they are supposed to do in order to be rational about anything.
Yeah, I do love that line sits at the top of the show.
Yeah.
Because I think we found in the table work we kept coming back to it as like I mean, first as a foil to Wiley.
Yeah.
To everything Wiley says, which is completely rational and sane and exactly the way many of us would react. Well, look at if we just make it a scarce resource, capitalism will take care of the problem, and then it will become you know, the price goes up, and now we mine it, and we use it, and it's like that is super
that's
smart.
Perfectly rational.
That's perfectly rational.
Not gonna work.
Not gonna won't save you. It won't save you. And we got into this discussion too about how like just you know, scientists and inventors are like, well, just here's the solution.
Yeah.
And a lot of, I think, of the talk around global warming is very much that. Like, well, here's what you have to do. Sure, just, you know, abandon, you know, 200 years of economic, you know, habits and get, you know, major super corporations to just buy onto that. Sure, no problem. We'll have the problem solved in 10 years. And they present it like that, and it's given to the world like that, and then they wonder why everyone's like, you're an idiot. And it's like, no, they're actually really smart, and that is the solution. But it coming back to that line of like,
but people won't pick it up.
People won't pick it up. You know, without a collective will, and we ended up talking a lot about will.
Yeah.
You know,
because there's so much will in this.
Because there's so much will, and that is the solution. Without it doesn't matter how many ideas we come up with. It's whether we as a species have the will to do what we need to do.
Yeah.
To not go over the tipping point.
And we're watching this same struggle in Louisiana, where the coastal erosion is rapidly wiping things out. You know, we lose a football field of land an hour, and yeah, I have literally gone kayaking and caught fish in spots that when I tried to find them on Google Maps were land.
Wow.
So not like, hey, Grandpa used to farm here. Like the last time the satellite took a picture, this island was a peninsula.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's sobering.
We don't see that here. I mean, that's yeah. And again, it points to that. There's a part in Act 2 where it's after Wiley's revelation. It's Easter Oppenheimer that's talking about Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer is chastising Easter about how, well, yeah, your grandparents did something, but then your parents saw that change, but only imperceptibly, and then you saw that change, but only imperceptibly, and over that time, everything was gone.
Yeah.
And so you don't notice, you don't pay attention,
and you're not going to make big personal sacrifices, or you're not going to change your emotional way of engaging in the world. It's not even sacrifice. It's just sort of acknowledging that old systems that you believed in deeply don't work.
Right.
Or aren't working now. Or
Right.
won't work anymore.
Right. Or are causing harm.
Yeah. And I think the hurt of ego that comes with that, I think most people won't do. And that might be the real tipping point. You know, Tim O'Brien, the novelist, has a great concept in his book, The Things They Carried, which is this book of, have you ever read it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazing book. It won him a Pulitzer, and rightly so, which I don't say very often.
Yeah.
And
That's a great book.
yeah, and he talks about how soldiers kill and die because they don't want to feel shame. And that's really powerful. And you know, there's a lot of shame in having to step up and say an economic system that under Reagan got tied to a religious system, which is now deeply intertwined for me, is destroying our nation.
Yeah.
Which I'm, very loudly patriotic about. There's a lot of shame in that, and I think a lot of people won't do it.
Yeah, I
And
think you're right.
that comes back to the tipping point in a very solid way.
Right.
Because, Oppenheimer stays on the island because he comes up to that epiphany, and unlike Wiley, who has it and gets to leave the island, Oppenheimer comes up to it and doesn't have it.
Right.
And instead, is going to hang out with the next visitor.
He's got, the pedagogy
Yeah,
of the
the
monkey.
pedagogy
of the
He's
monkeys.
not able
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about that
Yeah,
too because
he
it's
walked
so
right up. He
insane.
walks right up to it and stops
Yeah.
because he's not the protagonist.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and in order to have a collective will,
Mhm.
a lot of people would have to look inside and say, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
The things I believe are wrong.
Yeah, and that's hard.
And that's
And a lot of people would really rather die.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Which goes back to O'Brien. These soldiers would rather
Yeah.
kill or die and not have to feel that shame.
Well, and it's so easy too in our society to just ignore it.
Mhm.
Like to put
Right, especially
everything
when
into your
it's this slow.
recycling bin
Yep.
and just send it on its way.
To drive your
and,
Prius.
Yeah. Like to drive your Prius and put it in the compost
They
and,
get
and
solar.
all of it.
Yeah.
It's so we've made it so easy for ourselves to ignore it.
Yep.
Until it gets to the point where we can't ignore it anymore, which I think we're on the brink of.
Yeah.
Because
Well-
now all of a sudden the weather is inconveniencing people and killing people, and it's happening on a grander scale. It's not just like, those schmucks in Louisiana, it's happening to them again, now it's happening all over the
Minnesota
place.
got more snow than usual.
Right,
Yeah.
California is like, there's more fires there,
Nebraska's underwater.
Right, all of it.
Their crops are,
It's now finally affecting things that are affecting, other people because the crops in Nebraska are not going to make it to wherever, and so now people are like, "Where's my corn?" For my 4th of July picnic, I need it.
This was 25 cents an ear last year. Now it's $7.
Well, that's right. Everyone was. There was a couple years ago when gas hit like $4.50 here a gallon, and was pushing. Everyone was like, "Oh man, I hope gas prices come back down." I was like, "No way! The best thing that can happen is gas prices go to $9, and we finally do something about it." Because when the pain becomes so hard that we have to change, then we finally will.
Yeah.
But until that point, we won't. We just won't.
human
And naturally they dip back down.
It's definitely American cultural. Maybe.
Yes, that's the other thing.
How much of it is ubiquitous to the rest of the world is less
Debatable.
clear.
Yes, clear.
Yeah.
No, and that's completely true. I think often a lot of and for what it's worth, the similarities of the Mockingjay, the Hunger Games
Mhm.
of America as the capital.
Yeah.
And that we're just this complete, isolated, completely walled off place, ridiculous. Like the absurdism of even right now, just the absolute absurdism of having this conversation about this and then going off and having the rest of my day,
Right.
and not why am I not freaking out at this moment and doing everything burning my house to the ground and going and moving to Montana and living off the land, why? Because the pain isn't there yet. The pain of change, of the necessity to change, has not reached its own tipping point.
And we have, again, to go back to Louisiana, we already have global climate change refugees in Louisiana.
Right.
Some of the southern island towns are gone.
Mm-hmm.
And, they rebuilt the town on an old airbase up in northern Louisiana with sort of this same layout so people know their way around. But it's,
And even then.
And if you start to think about everyone who lives within 100 miles of, you know, the Gulf Coast from Corpus Christi to Charlotte. You know, if you think about all those people moving inland, things get really problematic really fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then, then things start to get Walking Dead-ish.
All right.
Hey, I look at it this way though. If Florida's gone, we don't have to worry about hanging chads in the future. So
True.
they get dispersed amongst some red states.
Oh yeah. So it's,
Yeah.
So
and as we all sit here and like have this collective sigh, that's it, right? That's the end of this play. It's like, it's hopeful in that we understand we could do it,
right.
but it's also a warning that you're
possible.
It's conceptually
but we're probably
possible,
not.
But
we're probably going to die.
But the warning is like you're probably gonna not. You personally may not die from climate change. You personally might.
Right.
We might have a better chance, but we don't know.
Yeah.
But the two downstairs,
their odds are not good.
No.
They know how to swim, right?
Very well, actually.
Perfect.
Very well. Yeah.
Yes.
We'll be
Good,
moving.
good.
They'll be moving north. I'll be buying buying land in Iceland.
I mean, Hudson Bay is lovely.
Reykjavik, 2050.
Reykjavik, 2050. Where are you retiring? North Pole?
Oslo. Somewhere warm.
Really nice.
Helsinki. Yeah.
Helsinki.
Yeah, somewhere where I can, see it on the beach for a couple of months.
Siberia. Siberia's gonna be real nice this time of year.
Oh, great.
On that note, anything else we want to chat with Justin about? on that real upper?
on the upper, I know.
And in a couple hours we can read about basically, women not getting to rewrite their own histories. So,
Right, but that's a whole different play.
Exactly. Literally.
It's a whole different play. Which sort of goes along with that last theme of, we're gonna finish this and go on with our lives until our lives continue to disintegrate.
Right.
And that's the next play.
It's
a whole other thing, because I sort of worked through all I can do as an artist about this.
Yeah.
With the sort of 3 surreal environmental plays.
Yep.
And it's like, all right, I've done that.
I've done that.
Thank you for, thank you for listening.
Well, we will, exactly.
If I can keep my kayak on your roof, that would be great.
It's the only way you can get around. I mean, think of it that way, right?
Yeah.
Kayak's an investment in the future, honestly.
Quite possibly.
Quite
when
possibly.
I walked my house sitter through the hurricane evacuation procedures for the house,
right,
it did end with, here's the kayak, the life jacket, and the paddle.
Time to buy a boat, Megan. Time to buy a boat.
Doesn't seem like such a foolish investment now, does it?
No, not at all.
And when you think of who to put on it, remember, I can catch fish.
All right.
All frickin' day.
We can eat.
You
right.
have a spot on our boat.
Anywhere in North America, all kinds
fish
of
will be filled with plastic, but
or just pick
so
that
will
up.
we.
Right?
So will we.
It's
So there's the play we're doing this fall. Hope you'll come out and see it. Feel good. It's a real feel gooder.
It is literally a lot of laughs.
Oh,
There's a lot of humor in it.
It is.
Yes.
The only
it's the only way you can deal with.
Exactly.
Right?
It's the only way you can do is laugh and try to come to your own personal place of what you've got to do.
That's right.
To do next. That's what art's for. There's not much better way to do it than that. Right? Awesome. All right. Well, this was our chat with Justin. Thank you.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun.
Good. Appreciate it. So I'll turn the camera on.
All right.
Great.